Hi, in this tutorial we will go over the Access project. This is a hands-on assignment and you will be working live in Access. Therefore, you will need a copy installed on your PC. If you don't have Access installed, then you can do one of the following. You can download Office 365, it's free, see announcements, use the virtual desktop, come to campus and use the PC in the Open Lab. Let's get started. We're going to go to Assignments and Projects to download the Sunshine database. All right, click on Assignments and Projects, scroll down. Here's the Access project. This is the assignment right here. These are the instructions. This is the database. This is what we need to download and work with. And this is a link to an Access tutorial. So click on the Sunshine database and it will open up right here. And let me I need to get back into Collaborate. Here we go. Okay. There we go. All right. First thing we'll do is enable content. Then we'll do a file save as. Save as. I'm going to create a new folder. I'll call it 101 Access. Open the Access. The instructions say to name the file as your name. So I'll go ahead. Name it. Click Save. All right. Enable the content again. What is Microsoft Access? It is a relational database set up as tables that relate to other tables, similar to Excel, but Excel is considered flat where Access is a relational, dimensional. So we have a customer table, a flower table, and an order table here. I'm going to open up the customer table. This is, you'll need to get familiar with the data that's in each of these tables. This is a record right here. Each row is a record. There are 20 records. These are fields: first name, last name, street address, city, state, zip, phone number. And this first field right here, the customer ID, is called a key field. It is a unique field, meaning that for customer ID number 1, Sally Smith, there is only one customer by that name. Next, I'll open up the flower database, and you'll notice the different tabs over here. So the customer ID, the item ID is a unique field right here. So for the item description, item number 1 is a red rose, long stem individual, and there's the price right there. This order table is called a conjunction table. It has a unique field here, order ID. It includes the customer ID, the item ID, which were unique in the customer and the flower table, and then the transaction, the date that the customer made a purchase. So in this particular record right here, customer number 6 purchased item number 2. So customer number 6 is Thomas Wright, and he purchased number 2, item number 2, a red rose long stem dozen. Okay, so that's, you just have to be familiar with the data, the tables, and the fields in order to do the queries. So next I'm going to show you how to do a query. And a query is a question. You want to pull data from one or more of the tables. So in this case, I want to know what customers, I want to know their first and their last name that ordered the holiday bouquet. So So I'm actually going to need all 3 tables in order to do that. So I'm going to go click on Create. There's the query design right here. I'm going to add each of these tables, table number 1, table number 2, and table number 3. Close it out and just move them around so that you can see the relationship between the two. So I want the first and last name, double click, first last name, and I want the item description right here. All right, I don't need any of the fields in the order table, but that is the table that relates the relationship between the customer ID, which is a unique field. There's a customer ID in the order table, and then there's an order ID number along with the order description, but the order ID relates. This is the relationship table. So the criteria over here, and I have to do an exact match. I know that it's written bouquet-holiday, so let me type that in. Okay, and if I want to do any kind of sorting, for example, if I want to sort by last name, I'll click on ascending. I'll go ahead and run the query. Okay, and nobody meets that criteria. Okay. This tutorial will help you with the Access project. This is a hands-on assignment and you will be working live in Access. Therefore, you will need a copy installed on your PC. If you don't have Access installed, then you can do one of the following. Download Office 365, it's free, see announcements, use the virtual desktop, or come to campus and use a PC in the Open Lab. Let's get started. We're going to go to the Assignments and Projects to download the Sunshine database. Okay, I've selected Assignments and Projects. We're going to scroll down. Here's the Access project. This is the assignment right here. This is the instructions for the assignments, and this is where you'll submit your database. This is the database right here, Sunshine Database. That's what we're going to be working with. And here's a tutorial that will show you how to use Access and explain it a little bit more. So the first thing I need to do is download Sunshine Flowers. Okay, I'm going to click on Enable Content, click on File, Save As. First thing you need to do is save your file. I'm going to create a folder. Okay, the instructions say to save the file is your name. Okay, enable content. Microsoft Access is a relational database. It's very similar to Excel, but Excel is considered flat. In Access, you have tables, and the data relates to each other, and that's what makes it a relational database. So before we get started, I'd like to open up the tables and get you familiar with the type of data that we're dealing with. So we have a customer table, flower, and order table. So in the customer table, each row is considered a record, and we have 20 records in this table. What's important to note here is there's a customer ID. That is a unique field, meaning that for customer number 1, Sally Smith, there's only one Sally Smith. And the primary key field, in this case customer ID, is the key field that you relate to the other tables. So there's the flower table. This is a key field right here, the item ID, the item description, and then the price. So for item number 1, that's a red rose long individual rose. And then the order table is the table that kind of joins the other two tables together. You have the order ID number, which is the unique number. You have the customer ID number, item ID number, and then the date that the customer placed an order. So for this particular entry, customer number 6 bought item ID number 2. So I go back to the customer table. Customer number 6 is Thomas Wright. Thomas Wright purchased the red rose long stem dozen rose, and he purchased that on 1/15/2014. So that just gives you a quick overview. So before you start to do these queries, you'll want to look at the data. You want to open up the tables and become familiar with it. Now, what is a query? A query is a question that you asked the database, and you get back basically a subset or an answer. So in this example, I want to know the first and last names of the customers that ordered in the month of January, and I want to know what they ordered. So I'm going to need I need the first and last names, the item description, and the transaction date. So to create a query, you click on Create, Query Design. I'm going to need all 3 of these tables. So I'm going to add each one of these tables in. Close out the window. Okay. Now, I talked about the relationship and the key fields. These are the key fields or the primary fields right here. So the customer ID relates to the customer ID in the order table. The flower, the item ID, relates to the item ID in the order table. I want the first and last names, double click, pull them down. I want the item description, I want to know what they ordered, and I want the transaction date. And I want to know in the month of January. So in this row right here, in the transaction date, I am going to do the criteria. So the date field is considered a number field, so you can do greater than, less than. So I'm going to do greater than or equal to 1/1/14 and less than or equal to 1/31/14. And I might want to sort that. I can sort by customer last name. I can sort by transaction date. That would make sense. But let me go ahead and sort by customer ID, customer name, last name. And I'm going to go ahead and run it, view, run it right there. So 3 records met this criteria right here. There's the transaction date, and it is correct, in the month of January. Okay, this concludes our tutorial on queries.